It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Politics have no relation to morals. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. I'm not interested in preserving the status quo, I want to overthrow it. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. One who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. One change always leaves the way open for the establishment of others. Severities should be dealt out all at once, so that their suddenness may give less offense. Benefits ought to be handed out drop by drop, so that they may be relished the more. No enterprise is more likely to succeed than one concealed from the enemy until it is ripe for execution. Hatred is gained as much by good works as by evil. The fact is that a man who wants to act virtuously in every way necessarily comes to grief among so many who are not virtuous. A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise. Tardiness often robs us opportunity, and the dispatch of our forces. A son can bear with equanimity the loss of his father, but the loss of his inheritance may drive him to despair. Men shrink less from offending one who inspires love than one who inspires fear. To understand the nature of the people one must be a prince, and to understand the nature of the prince, one must be of the people. Whoever conquers a free town and does not demolish it commits a great error and may expect to be ruined himself. Nature that framed us of 4 elements, warring within our breasts for regiment, doth teach us all to have aspiring minds. The new ruler must determine all the injuries that he will need to inflict. He must inflict them once and for all. For among other evils caused by being disarmed, it renders you contemptible, which is one of those disgraceful things which a prince must guard against. Princes and governments are far more dangerous than other elements within society. If an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Men should be either treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries, for heavy ones they cannot. The promise given was a necessity of the past, the word broken is a necessity of the present. There is no avoiding war, it can only be postponed to the advantage of others. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success, than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. The more sand has escaped from the hourglass of our life, the clearer we should see through it. Never was anything great achieved without danger. Men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves against attack, and then they attack others. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. There is no surer sign of decay in a country than to see the rights of religion held in contempt. Of mankind we may say in general they are fickle, hypocritical, and greedy of gain. The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise that the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. War is just when it is necessary. Arms are permissible when there is no hope except in arms. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. It is much more secure to be feared than to be loved. Men are so simple and yield so readily to the desires of the moment that he who will trick will always find another who will suffer to be tricked. Benefits should be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. We cannot attribute to fortune or virtue that which is achieved without either. Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than to be loved when one of the two must be lacking. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. A man who is used to acting in one way never changes. He must come to ruin when the times, in changing, no longer are in harmony with his ways. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. The vulgar are always taken by what a thing seems to be. A prince who is not wise himself will never take good advice. The people do not wish to be ruled nor oppressed by the nobles, and the nobles wish to rule and oppress the people. Ought to question them upon everything, and listen to their opinions, and afterwards form his own conclusions.